Good morning, it's Monday, February 2nd, and we're just having a look at it. See how things are going. We don't want this getting dried out, so I'm just gonna, right away, I'm just gonna give that a little water because it seems like it's drying up. And we may need replacements, but honestly, looking pretty good under there. Almost everybody's got a plant coming out of it. Yeah, I think we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So we got 18 coming up so far. There's a couple there that haven't shown anything, but guess what? We have spares. We have lots and lots of spares. So if anybody doesn't want to come out and join the party, then we'll just replace them with someone who does. Well, not much to do this morning, but just give everybody a little drink, I guess. Yeah, I'm getting a good germination rate here. I'm happy with this. Okay, so that was a short visit. Really not much to see. Just making sure everything's ticking along like it should. Appears it is, so probably just call it a day. Let things progress and come back for another visit, later on tonight. I always like to make sure that everything's working well. I mean, the timer's clicking off and all of that stuff. And just for the first couple of 3 days, I like to just come down, make sure everything's going right. So far, so good. So I might take one more visit later tonight. That's it. And since I am down here with nothing much else to do, this is what I'm going to be using in the reservoir. And you can see it's got your pH, gives you the temperature of the water, and it gives you the ppms, the total dissolved salts. So that's your conductivity, that's your nutrient content, temperature, and pH. And we're going to be running this at somewhere in the neighborhood of 5.5 to 5.8. So that's what I want. That's our target here. 70 degrees is a good number for temperature. And conductivity, that's a pretty good number too. So those will kind of be the targets that we're looking for as far as the food goes, as far as the water that's going to be flooded and drained in and out of this table. So let's unpack it and have a look and see what it's about. Okay, so this unit does require mounting, so I'm taken and put a piece of wood across the front right here, and we're going to mount it to that. It's just going to kind of hang down. It's only going to have the two top holes with screws in them and hang down, and then that way the probes will be able to get in there and we'll be able to get the plug out over to there. So I'm going to hang the unit right here. Probes will be able to reach down there and just nicely, and I've already brought over the yellow extension cord, which has got 3 outlets on the end. So we're going to have a pump, we're going to have a meter, and we're going to have some air stones. So that's why we have 3 plugs right over here, because we've got lots of things that require electricity in the reservoir. And the Blue Lab unit is mounted and ready to go. We see we got the probes. This probe is for pH, and then we have a separate probe. Sorry, that was not for pH. This is for pH, and that one right there is for EC. EC is a measure of your conductivity, which is a measure of the amount of nutrient you have in the reservoir. Well, that's all for Monday, February 2nd. I think we're gonna call it a day, and I think we got everything that we need done. With that unit mounted, nice piece of wood up here. That's a good mounting piece of wood for this table. Fits perfectly. Lights are good. Alignment's good. Things are popping, and anybody who doesn't pop is going to get a replacement. I'm really liking the way this is going. Everything's working out just fine, and we're just going to carry on with what we're doing. It's Wednesday, February 4th, and we're going to do a little check on the plants here. Still got some sprouts in there in case anybody needs replacing. Looks like everybody's doing pretty good. Some of them actually have a couple of seedlings in there, and that's okay too. We'll sex them all, see who's female, who's not. I've got at least 23, 24 cups here. That means 23 or 24 plants. That increases our odds of getting enough females. Again, we only need 9. So if out of those 24, we get 9 females, then it's all good. Check on the conditions, all pretty much perfect. 68 degrees Fahrenheit, 46 relative humidity. 50 is perfect. 50% humidity is perfect. And 68 to 74 degrees is an ideal temperature. And when we get the big light hung up in here, it's probably going to be, you know, getting a little warmer than that. So we'll just crack the door open and leave it open while the lights are on, and close it when the lights go off, etc. So right now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook up some tubing. You see, I've got a little piece of tubing stuck up in there. It's just kind of hanging in there. I'm going to put in a T, and I'm going to put in a petcock above the T, going in to the from the pump and into the reservoir, and then coming off this T, I'm going to put another petcock, and I'm going to have, that's going to be the drain. So when I turn this petcock off, I turn this petcock on, and I turn the pump on, it shoots the water out through the longer tubing and out the window and onto the ground outside. And that way we don't have to worry about hauling buckets of water back to the shower. I brought down just a little drip of olive oil. The olive oil will help to make the tubing a little more slippery, because this is really a little bit softer than the tubing I'm used to. It probably is going to be stickier too going in. So I'll just put a little teeny bit of olive oil around the edge, and then it should slip right up in there. And then we're going to have to start cutting and fittings. So Little Giant, that's what it's called. And this is what it looks like. So it sits this way up. You see there's where the tubing goes on there, and then it goes up. And there'll be a petcock above it, and that'll be the diversion petcock. Then there'll be another petcock above that, which turns off the flow to the table. So I turn off the flow to the table, turn on the flow to the drain, and then turn off the flow to the drain and turn on the flow to the table. So either way, I'm either pumping it out the window or I'm pumping it up into the table. So I think you can see that there. I've got a little bit of olive oil on there, and that should help it slide right up in there. So I've got myself a little cutter, and we're going to use this to cut the tubing. It should work just fine. It's just getting it in the right spot. I'm thinking, you know, probably up here close to the table would be good, because we're going to pull it out a little bit. Yeah, so I think I'm going to cut it right there, if I can. There we go. Okay, so you see I've just got a little piece hanging out here, and it will be pulled down a little bit, but for now it's staying right where it is. And the first thing I'm going to do is put a petcock in. So that's your petcock. So that petcock's going to go right in there, and that'll be a shut off to the table. Okay, so petcock's installed. Next we're going to put just a little piece of tubing down here, just a couple of inches long. So there's our little short piece of tubing. Now comes the T-fitting. And the T-fitting is in. Next, a little short piece here, and another piece right here that goes all the way down to the pump. And I'll put the pump in here so we can see exactly how long that has to be. It basically has to go from this output to this input. Okay, so the pump is in place. It's hooked up to the T with the petcock and to the table. So that's the straight up flow. Now when I want to drain the res, I'm going to turn this off, and there's going to be another one over here, and it's going to send the water out that way. So there's their little piece, and the petcock's going to go right in there. And petcock is on. So now you see what I'm doing. This is on, this one's off, right? That takes it straight from the pump to the table. This one's off, this one's on, stops it from going to the table, and sends it right out the window. And so there's the tubing going all the way out there. There it is. And you can see it's going to go right through this little window. I just have to crack the window just enough to get that through, and it'll go straight out onto the ground outside, no problem. So that's it for today. I got Deb is out running around in town today. She's going to drop into the local greenhouse supply store, and they have some air tubing and air stones, and that's one thing that we've been missing here is air tubing and air stones, and they just happen to have those in stock, and they virtually never have very much hydroponic stuff in stock. But lucky for us, they had both of those things, and they set them aside. Deb's going to pick them up, and we're going to have 2 air stones because our pump has got 2 connectors. So it's actually going to put 2 air stones into this reservoir, and you can never have too much aeration. The more oxygen, the more aeration you get into that water, the better. It also helps to keep the nutrient mix mixed in there nicely so that it doesn't settle or do anything like that. So you've got this constant bubbling action going, and the oxygen really helps as far as the plants go too, because they want oxygenated water. They'll take that up much better. Just one last thing before we go, and that's you know, some of these are looking a little drier, like this one here is kind of looking a little drier. So I'm just going to put a little shot of water to the ones that appear to be getting a little bit drier, just to keep everybody hydrated and happy. And you can see there's like 2 in there. See if I get that. See, there's 2. Some of them have 2. That's okay. One of them will turn female, one will turn male, or maybe they'll both turn female. And then what I get to do is, if they both turn female, I get to choose the best specimen to keep, and I get rid of the weakling and I keep the good one. Well, that was short but sweet. We'll be back down again tomorrow to finish off the air stones and take another check on the plants, see how they're coming. It's going to be a couple of weeks, probably before we even get a chance to put them into 12 and 12. So what we'll do is we'll put the lighting on, switch it over from 18 and 6, where it is right now 18 on and 6 off, and we'll switch it over to 12 on and 12 off. And you do that for about 5 to 7 days or so. Maybe you probably do it 6 days, and then you go back to 18 hours. And what that short period of 12 and 12 does is it tells the plant, oops, it's time to flower, and then it starts to trigger that flowering process. But then boomo, you're back into 18 and 6, and it goes, oh wait, no, it's not. But what it will do is it will get the plant to produce either hairs or balls. So we'll know who's female, who's male. Males are definitely getting turfed. I got plenty of pollen. I don't need any pollen. I don't want anything to do with males. I'm looking for females. So having more females than I need, like, you know, having 23, if only half of those 12, say, go female and the other 12 go male, then I've got 12 females to pick through to pick the 9 best. So I'm going to pick the 9 best specimens, and those are what are going to be put into these basket pots with COCO, and that's what's going to be in the flood and drain table, and boy, I'm looking forward to that. And here's the team. So there's your COCO B, COCO A. So it's a 2-part, A and B. You mix the 2 together in equal amounts, and away you go. Okay, so I've got this now for the drain, and it's stuffed all the way up into the siphon valve, and when the table gets to the right level, we'll gradually pull this out until water starts to flow out of the bottom. Over here is the intake. So this pump is going to be pumping water up and into the hole where the grommet is. So I'm going to hook a straight connector up down underneath to put the tubing on. Okay, so there's the grommet. You can see it sticking through, and down underneath. So now down underneath here, I'm going to be hooking the pump and the petcock and everything up onto this, where is it? There we go, onto that there straight connector. So now everything is hooked up. So pump going up and in into this particular fitting, and it floods the table. This one sucks it out and drains it out to here. Thursday, February 5th, 2026, and I mentioned that Deb went down to the local greenhouse supply store and managed to find some air tubing and 2 air stones. Perfect. I mean, this is great. This is just what we need. And these air stones are the absolute best air stones. They let off smaller bubbles. So you've seen the bar ones that are like a bar and they sit in the bottom. They put off a larger bubble. So it's not as good of an aerator. Whereas these ones put off thousands and thousands of tiny little bubbles. And that really gets the oxygen level up in your water. And that's a really good thing. There's the pump. All the other things, let's get this thing hooked up and get those stones in the res. And the air stones are connected to the air pump and ready to go. We'll just drop them into the res right now and just get them out of the way. Ready for duty. Conditions are looking pretty good. We are at 68 degrees Fahrenheit, 44% relative humidity. That's pretty much bang on where I want to be. 70 would be nice for a number of degrees, and 50% humidity would be perfect. So we are real close to perfect here. So I did give the plants a little watering this morning, and I put some of this in it. It's called Super Thrive. This is an old product. It's been around for years and years. Well, basically, it says right there, since 1940. So it's really good stuff. It's basically, you know, a nitrogen base, so 0.5, that's nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. So just a little bit of nitrogen, and it really helps to kick the seedlings in gear. It's not harsh, it's very mild, and it gives them all the food that they need to get them started. So I gave them their first watering with that this morning, and I think I can already see them starting to look happier. Good morning, it's Monday, February 9th. Just checking on the plants, and everybody's seems to be doing pretty good. So far I've been giving them some Super Thrive. Super Thrive is a nice, mild little starter charge. I think today though, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to open up these can of COCO bottles, and there's an A and a B, as you know. I'm gonna take just a minute amount out of there, like just like a couple of milliliters, like not even, you know, maybe half a milliliter kind of thing. And I'm just gonna squirt half a milliliter A and a half a milliliter B into the cup. And then I'm gonna shoot that to those plants and see how that works out. I think it'll be a nice little mild charge of some actual grow nutrient. And that's probably gonna be good for them because Super Thrive only takes them so far. Right now, I think they've reached the limit of what the Super Thrive can do. It's time to start feeding them real lunch. So you can see these lids are on there pretty tight. There's no way you're just going to use your hand to undo that. So I brought down my adjustable wrench to use that on the lid. And the first thing I'm going to do though, before I get any nutrient out of here, is give these a good shake. They've been sitting around for a long time, just kind of settled probably. Nutrients tend to do that, they'll settle a bit. So it's always good to give them a darn good shake before you actually use them. Yeah, really good shake. And that should just about do it. Okay, so I broke the seal with the pliers. Now it's time to just draw a little teeny bit of that nutrient out of there. Like I said, I just want to get like half a milliliter, so I'm just going to draw some up in there. You can see I'm got a little air in there, so I'm just going to get rid of that air. There we go. Okay, so well, there's a little bit more air in there. There we go, that got rid of the air. So we're going to get that down to about a half a milliliter. You can see there's 1 milliliter. And that's probably about a half a milliliter right there. So it's just a real tiny amount. Now I'm going to put it in this water right here. And that's it. And I suck a little water back in and clean that out, because you don't want concentrated A with concentrated B residue. It's just the thing I do. I rinse out the syringe. It's a good idea. So just looking at the instructions on the back here, says here the dosage is 40 milliliters per 10 liters, so that's 4 milliliters per liter. I did put a half a milliliter in there, so that's, you know, probably a good dose. A little on the high side, but it should be all right. Oh, and they recommend a pH of 5.5 to 6.2, so we'll check that too before we add it. And there's a, get that there, half a milliliter of the beet. Oh, put that in there. Get the residue out. And we're good to go. Okay, so I got the Blue Lab pen and got it to work here. So it's just kind of giving an erroneous reading right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to calibrate it. See, it's got a calibrate button. I've got my little cup, and I've got my pH 7 and pH 4. So you calibrate for both of those because your upper end and lower end could actually, you could be out on your lower end calibration or out on your upper end. So you do 7 and 4, and then once you've got those both calibrated, you're good to go. You know you're going to get the perfect reading from your Blue Lab pen. So I poured just enough of the pH 4 solution in there to dip the pen in, and then once I dip the pen in, I can calibrate. Okay, where are we? At 6.1, 6.0, 5.9. Looks like it's settling on 3.9, which is pretty darn close, but I'm still going to go ahead and push the calibration button, get it perfect. And there you go. It's calibrated to 4 in the pH 4 buffer. Okay, so I've put some pH 7 buffer in the cup. So let's get her into there and see what we read. It looks like it's just about topping out at 6, so should be reading 7. So we're going to go ahead and calibrate it to 7. And there you go. It's rating 7 in the 7 calibration fluid. So we're all good to go. This pen is all calibrated and should read very accurately. Okay, so I rinsed it with water so there's no more calibration solution on there. So let's stick it in the water. And I just put the little bit of can of nutrient in and see where it reads. Well, it's probably going to take a while before it settles, so I will get back to you. Okay, so what I've got in this little container right here is 85% phosphoric acid. So phosphoric acid is also known as pH down. That's, the general terminology for it because that's what it does. It brings the pH down. And this is a little high, so we're just going to add a couple of drops. I got a little syringe here, and I'll just put a couple of drops in there. It shouldn't take more than that. So this is the EC pen. I've got it in the water. I just put a little bit, just another little dab of can of COCO in there, just a little dab of pH down, and we're at EC of 400 or which is a light dose of nutrients. So I think we're good to go on that. So one other thing before you cap your pH pen or you put your truncheon back into the tube, always make sure that if there's any residual water, and you can see there's a little bit of residual water on here, just make sure you dry everything off. Get up in there and dry off the probe and all that stuff. You don't want to put it away wet. Okay, so moving forward, that's our team. There's your pH, there's your EC. Very important tools. Don't do ebb and flow, flood and drain without it. Okay, so you can see everybody just got a real light dose, just a little wet spot there on most of them. See, and that's enough. You don't want to overdose them with nutrient or anything like that. So that should do it for now. Should kick them into gear, and I think the Super Thrive has just about served its purpose. So this is the way to go. So that's it for Monday, February 9th. I think I'm going to go upstairs and I don't know, maybe play a little solitaire or something. But anyway, this phosphoric acid, you don't want to spill that on anything. So I've got to find a safe place to put that. I can't find the cap for this container, so I'm going to put it somewhere safe where it won't get knocked over or, any accidents happen. That's pretty strong stuff. Tuesday, February 10th, and up until now I've been trying to use this Blue Lab pH pen. And honestly, I'm not a big fan of the Blue Lab pH pens. They are just, I don't know, sometimes they just don't calibrate right, and they're difficult to use, and I'm switching back over to the Oakton. The Oakton, I love the Oakton. It's very simple, very easy to calibrate, and I just love it. It's so reliable. Just put new batteries in it, put a new probe on the end of it, so we're all good to go. First thing we're going to do is calibrate. So that's what a new probe looks like. You can see it's nice and shiny. That little wick is all nice and clean. Globe is nice and clean. Brand spanking new, ready to go. Let's turn her on. Sometimes you don't use things for a while and you kind of forget how they work. But anyway, I've got it now calibrated to 4. Next comes calibration to 7, so I'm just going to turn it off in between. It's really important in between calibrations to just make sure you wash the probe off really good so you don't have any residue left from the pH4 buffer on there. And I'll dry that on a paper towel. And then we'll do the 7. Pan in. Let's have a look and see how she reads. So 6.4 is not right. So you press the cal button and then the set button. And there it is. It is now calibrated to 7, just like it should be. So this pen is completely calibrated and good to go. Okay, fresh sample of water right out of the tap. So let's see where we're at now. 6.3, 6.4, 6.5, and that's it. So 6.5 appears to be it. Oh, and as you can see, it's 5.6 is the pH of this water with the rhizotonic in it. And for COCO, you want it to be right around that 5.5 to 6. So 5.6 is a good number for COCO. Yeah, so something I want to mention is about what rhizotonic means. You have on your roots, you have something called the rhizome. The rhizome is the outer layer of the root, and it does most of the carrying of the nutrients. So it actually absorbs the nutrients and does most of the push work. So keeping a good rhizosphere healthy means that your plants are going to uptake nutrients a lot better, and it's also good for getting them started because it promotes root growth on the seedlings. So probably might use that one more time. Maybe I'll see how it goes, see how the seedlings go. Otherwise, we'll be moving on. And before I actually cap the pH pen, I'm going to put a little drop of this pH probe solution into the bottom of the, you can see there where the probe goes, there's like a little bowl there. I'm just going to put just a couple of drops of this stuff in there to help the probe stay hydrated. So you can see we've got a storage solution in there. Now I just cap it, and that'll keep it nice and hydrated and ready to go for next time. And that's it for Wednesday, February 11th. And come back down here tomorrow, check on things. Got my 2 pH pens. Again, I'm just taking reading off of each of them and then kind of sawing it off in the middle because I think that's probably going to be the most accurate way to measure the pH. And I always let the water stand, for 24 hours to come to room temperature before I use it. So there it is, sitting right there. And everybody's looking happy. It's Friday, February 27th, and it's been a while, but we've been struggling basically with pH. So we spent a lot of time sorting all of that out. I think we've finally got it all figured out. Right now, Deb is just conditioning the Blue Lab unit, and it's got a pH probe and an EC probe, and that's it all lit up right there. So once we've got that calibrated, we'll be putting it into our little cooler reservoir, and it'll give us a continuous read on what the EC and what the pH is. Okay, it's time to get this thing all calibrated and get the unit into use in our little reservoir. Deb's just finished calibrating the pH 7 solution. So now we're going with the pH 4 solution, and once we have the 4 calibrated and the 7 calibrated, then we know the pH probe is reading correctly. At the same time, we're putting the electrode in for the EC. We're going to be going based on parts per million ppm as far as our food measurement goes, so that when we put nutrient into the water, that will read our food, the other one will read our pH, and it'll do it on a continuous basis.
Let's say that's 11 liters.
Okay, so everything's calibrated. We have 6.4 in the water right now as far as pH goes. We have 65 degrees as temperature and 750 ppm right out of the tap, which is pretty high, so it's pretty, I guess you would call hard water. And so we're going to have to basically use our nutrient and take into account that 750 ppm. So the ppm may show higher on the pen, but it's actually not as high as it's going to look. So the plants look like they're doing pretty darn good. I'm happy with the growth on them. If we can get all of these other issues taken care of, such as our EC and our ppms and our pHs and all of those things, we'll be in good shape. And I think we're just about there. We're going to now put a little bit of nutrient into the cooler. This is like a miniature reservoir. You know, when we're actually doing the table, we use the big reservoir down there. But in the meantime, this is our reservoir. So we're going to put a little bit of nutrient in first. You always put the nutrient in first because it will mess with the pH. And then once we know what the pH is with the nutrient in it, we can then tweak it down to where it needs to be. So Deb's just drawn a little bit of the A out into a syringe. So we're just using a very small reservoir here, so that's all it takes to get our ppms up to where we want it to be. So just a little bit more, and we should be very close to what we need. And if you're wondering why Deb did that, there's little measuring marks on the side of the cup. Maybe down here you can see them. And it looks like one more. Let me get it up to the appropriate level here.
Perfect.
And it's perfect, so in it goes. That's number 1. Or I should say A. So while we're doing this, and I'll just let you know that when it comes to putting the nutrient into the water, you always go with the A first and then the B second. And of course a good shake is always a good idea. Okay, next we get the B. And in goes the B. So now we have equal amounts of the A and B in the water. That's our nutrient. We'll see where that takes our pH, because it sometimes will also mess with the pH. Okay, so we got all the nutrient into the water. That is the appropriate amount for this particular little reservoir. And it has nicely adjusted our pH right to where we want it to be. It's at 5.5. 5.5, and 5.5 is perfect. So this entire reservoir of water is ready to go, and I can stop using the cups and adding drops. So you see the ppms are reading at 2020, but you have to take off the 700 and change that the water already was. So when you take that off, you're in the 13 to 1400 range, which is probably a pretty good number. Okay, so I threw a little bit of water back into the reservoir that I had there, and it's brought it down to about 1800, 1790. So we're at just over 1,000 when you take off the original ppms of the water. Still going down. Not sure why, but it should settle at any time. pH is perfect. Temperature 65 is okay. Like it to be a couple of degrees warmer, but it should be all right. And let's see where this settles. So something else you're going to notice is that everybody's doing the hula. You see them wiggling back and forth, you know, with the fan on them. And that's a good thing because that little bit of wiggling back and forth really helps them to develop a nice strong stem. Actually very pleased with the growth that we're getting right now. We're getting very close to the third set of leaves. So once we do get to the third set of leaves, we will knock the time back to 12 and 12 for probably a few days, maybe a week, and then we'll put them back in 18 and 6, and that will cause them to go into a little bit of a growth spurt. It'll also get them to put out some either hairs or balls, so we'll know who's female and who's male. So with the water temperature at 65 degrees, it's a little bit on the cool side, but it's probably okay. I think what I'm going to do, I've taken some of the water with the nutrient, you know, the pH balance stuff, and I've just left it in the cup. I'm going to go up, have a little breakfast, maybe take an hour or so, come back down in the water then, and hopefully the temperature of the water in these cups will go up a couple of points. It's just nice because you don't want to, you know, shock the poor little buggers. That soil's probably well over 70 degrees, and you start putting in 65-degree water. You know, it's better to have it as close as possible to the actual temperature of the soil. Okay, it's been about a half an hour or so. Let's just see how the temperature of the water is now, and I think it's probably going to be okay for watering. Let's see. So we got 66. So 66 degrees. Let's say 65. Yeah, I think 65, 66 degrees is good enough for me. Once it gets into the soil, that soil is probably already, you know, above 70 degrees. It's probably 72 degrees or so in the soil. So it won't take long for the water to come up to temperature. So I'm going to just go ahead and water now. We'll start with these ones over here. See, I'm just putting a little bit on to start with, and it soaks in, and if I have some left after I'm done, everybody, then I'll maybe give them a second little shot. And of course the bigger pots with the will have more cocoa in it and therefore require a little bit more water. Well, that's it for today, Friday, February 27th. Everybody's got water. Everybody's doing the hula. Got myself some water out just to sit and come to room temperature for the next watering, which will be probably tomorrow. And in the meantime, everything's going tickety-boo. We got that Blue Lab thing running up and running, so pH is no longer an issue, which is the reason for the long delay between filming, was because of all the pH issues we were having that revolved around the pH pens. It was getting to a point where I just couldn't trust what the pH pens were telling me, so we ended up getting a drop tester. And this drop tester is one that you just drop in a little bit, a couple of drops. I think I already showed you that one. And you know, I mean, it's good for getting a rough idea. When it comes down to flood and drain or ebb and flow, you want to have exact readings, and that's why you need something like the Blue Lab. Well, it's March 1st, and it's time to do a little bit of watering. First, let's check the numbers. The numbers say it is pH is 5.5. That's perfect for the cocoa. 65 degrees, you know, it's a little bit cool in the cooler, but what I do is I set water aside and let it come to room temperature. So that water in here has been sitting there for probably 24 hours or so, and it's come to room temperature. And room temperature is over here, and you can see that's 70.7 degrees. So that water is probably in and around 70 degrees, which is perfect for watering. A little look and see who's how everybody's doing. I'm seeing some really good growth here. I'm really pleased with the way these are growing. They're just going gangbusters now. I think we've got everything dialed in just right. We're almost, I mean, we're at third set of leaves are coming out. We're going to let them come out a little bit more. Probably another week or so. We're going to knock the lighting back to 12 and 12 for about a week, and then put it back to 18 and 6, and that will get them to show their hairs and their balls, or whatever you want to call them, and we'll know who's female and who's male. We'll segregate out the males, keep the females, and see who's the best specimens to keep, and we'll go from there. Well, it's Monday, March 2nd. Things are growing really good. Did a little bit of watering this morning, and I got this little cooler thing going here still. I'm gonna connect up some water today that's going to come in from the sink in the bathroom, the downstairs bathroom. I did think about using the shower head, but it turns out that I think it's easier to use the tap in the sink. So I'm gonna run that water out here. I'm going to put a little more water in the res and then go from there. So I bought a 50-foot hose from Canadian Tire, just ran into town this morning and got that. I looked at 25, but I'm getting 50 just to make sure, because I'm not sure 25 is going to reach. So anyway, there you go, 50-foot hose. So like I see, adding water has changed the ppms down to 1060, and that's taking away the base of I believe it was 740 or 780 in that neighborhood. If you take that away, then we've only got about 360 ppms of actual nutrient in there. Temperature's looking good at 69 degrees. pH has got to be adjusted. It's at 6.3 right now. So let's get busy putting a little food in there, and if necessary, a little bit of pH down, just to bring that pH down to the proper level. So good to go on the nutrients. I'm going to just use this little syringe here to put the nutrients in there. I'm just going to do it like maybe one syringe at a time, and then give it a little stir, see what that does to the ppms and the pH, and then take it from there. So we'll go with the A first, and this one is the A. Yes, so that's the A. So I'm just going to take and put a hole. Maybe not a whole. Let's start off with a half. About there. Yeah, let's start with half. There goes half A. And then a half B. And that looks pretty good right there. Put that in there. Clean that out. There we go. Okay, it's nice and clean. Give it a little stir, and then we'll check and see what happens to our ppms. Okay, so that's brought our ppms up to 1320 and a 6.1 pH. So it's actually dropped the pH a bit. I think I'm going to put probably another half syringe in. I think I'd like to get that up to about 1700 or so, which would be about 1300 ppms. Yeah, somewhere around there anyway. Almost there, just a little tweak more. Okay, we're up to 1620. That's just about 1,000, close to 1,000 ppms when you take off these 720. It's really about 900 ppms. I think that's a good strength for younger plants. We might boost that up a little bit as the plants get bigger. And you see we've got the pH down to 6.0 now. I do want to get that down a little further, maybe like to 5.6, 5.7. So I'll put just a drop or two of pH down in the water. Okay, so I got the pipe with a little bit of phosphoric acid in it, with pH down. So I'm just going to put a few drops in there, see what that does. Give it a little stir. See what that does. Okay, that's looking better. pH is down to 5.8. I'm thinking probably just another drop more. And well, now it's gone down to 5.7. So I'm starting to get happy. It's 5.7 is pretty close. I mean, anywhere between 5.5 and 5.7. 5.8 even is pretty good right now. Again, that's almost 1,000 ppms on the food, and the temperature is at 69 degrees. So that's a good temperature for watering. I mean, anywhere close to 70 degrees, and it's good to go. And that's it. I'm just getting a little bit of water into the pipette just to clean that out, because phosphoric acid is pretty corrosive, and yes, plastic is probably not going to corrode that, but it's always a good idea to keep any of your tools clean. So hose and filter is safely stowed in the shower, and we can still use the shower, which is a good idea. So, I mean, I was originally thinking about hooking up there, but that would eliminate this shower. We do have another shower upstairs, but it's nice to have two showers. But we really don't need two bathroom sinks. We got one of those upstairs, and this one is currently occupied. So we'll be using that until we're done. And then when I remove all of this and put it all back together, you'll never even know it was hooked up there. So one last look. As you can see, everybody's looking really good. I'm really happy with the results, and a couple of weaklings in there, but few and far between. We only need 9 good ones, 9 females that look nice, and I think we're going to have maybe a couple extras. Maybe we'll do something else with those other females, maybe grow them a little larger in a bigger pot under a light, and then put them outdoors when spring finally arrives. Okay, last thing for today, I promise. I'm just going to put in some H2O2, hydrogen peroxide. I'm going to put that in the water. That's going to make sure that there's no bacterial stuff going on, nothing organic going on in there. It will kill anything that might be nasty. So it's like a little cleansing for the water, and it's also just oxygen mostly, so it will evaporate off within an hour or two. It will completely evaporate out of the water once it's done its job, and this is not going to be used again until tomorrow. So by tomorrow there'll be no more H2O2 or hydrogen peroxide in this water, and it will have done its job.